This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Hin, Min, Jason, Madeline, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Kristen, and Tia. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group, the Discord server, or the subreddit, where we'll be hanging out daily. I just have to say this. I'm concerned and or impressed by a lot of our listeners' bowel movement consistency.
I forget everything we say the second the mics go off.
Oh, then I bet that was very confusing for you.
It's like... That's like 2 episodes ago, and my brain is like, we talk about poop a lot. You're going to have to be more specific.
I'm sorry. You're going to have to be more specific about which time we talked about poop.
You're going to have to narrow down when we were talking about poop.
I'll tell you when we get to Spotify comments. I'll catch you up.
Great. Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige made us watch Him. All right, Paige.
Yep.
I'm assuming this is the first time you watched this movie.
It is. I have a lot of thoughts, but yes, this is my first time.
I have a lot of thoughts about this movie, too. It clearly was the first time I watched it. And I will say, I understand why people didn't like it.
Yes.
But
yeah,
I dug the shit out of it.
We'll get into it.
Just gonna be honest with you. They made a football movie for people who don't give a shit about football. And that's like the problem with it. Like I can see that.
That is one of the problems with it.
It's like, oh shit, this is a takedown of a fandom, more or less.
Yes.
In like manifesto form.
Sure.
And listen, I'm not saying that football is the only thing you could do this with. You could absolutely do this with the things that I love.
Sure.
And take to this level. Like it's not that you're weird for liking football. Everyone's weird for the thing that they get into, like you get into football. But this movie is aggressively pointing out how toxic and terrible the football like cult is. And again, I'm not saying that it's any worse than any other fandom cult of which I am members of some other ones. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure books gave people concussions once or twice, right?
Well, only when Sister Ann Margaret hit you over the head for reading smut, Paige.
There you go.
I'm just going to make up that you went to a Catholic girls' school and were beaten by a nun named Sister Ann Margaret. I made up too many specific things to where it might sound like a real story, and I want to be clear, unless, Paige, you have a revelation for us. Paige was not abused in a Catholic girls' school situation.
No. I also didn't have any teachers with the first name Sister, just in case you were looking for a loophole for that story to still be true.
Right, yeah.
I had this exact same thought while watching. I think there's actually 2 big problems with this movie. And I will say that, like you, for the first 40 minutes of this movie, I was like, why didn't people like this? I actually am really digging this. And then it all falls apart. But
it does kind of fall apart towards the end.
Yes.
When he makes the right choice and kill everybody.
I was kind of on board for that.
So like, I'm sure you'll have like filmmaking critiques for this. And you absolutely should. You fucking went to film school and still work in the industry. I know enough about football to like, if I'm watching it, I know the calls that are made. I know what, I know functionally how the game is played. And it's not football. I'm like this with like kind of all competitive sports. I just don't feel like I have that competitive drive. So I just don't really care about like professional sports, but like I get why people love them so much. And I think they really get into that in this movie, which I kind of like.
Yes.
You see how it is his life growing up. And like,
it
is where he gets one-on-one time with his dad and like he gets validation. And like, I understand, like I got that in other things from my family. So like, I'm super into musicals and shit.
Sure.
It's not that, but like, I don't want people to feel like I'm talking down to people who like football because like,
I don't feel that way at all.
I'm just as bad about musicals and stuff as you are about football and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just have a different thing that I blow up way too much in my mind, you know?
Here's the problem with this movie is that I don't think even the movie is talking down to people who like football so much as the film also loves football, but is recognizing the problems.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because in order to understand and enjoy this movie, you have to know enough about football and want to actively watch people do football drills for 40 minutes.
Yep.
And my problem is, I don't think that most of the people who will enjoy that part of the movie really want to hear the other part of the movie. So at a certain point, you're like, who is this for? And it's actively for you and I, Todd, whose only real investment in football is, did you see that Aaron Hernandez documentary? Because there's so much of that in this movie where one of my personal true crime hyperfixations is the NFL covering up the prevalence of CTE. It's one of those things I love screaming about. Because while I feel like there are a lot of things in Aaron Hernandez's life that were not great, and he made his own decisions, and a lot of them were not good. And there are a lot of things that he personally did that were not great. But I also firmly believe that without football, a lot of the people Aaron Hernandez killed would still be alive. Hardcore. I think he's one of the most prevalent cases of CTE. I think it made a very, very visible difference in his life. And I know that nobody wants to think about that or say that because they love football. And it's not just football. It's a lot of different sports. It's just that the NFL is probably the most prevalent and has done the most to cover up the effects of CTE, which, by the way, can't really be investigated or studied until people die.
Yeah, that's why when a lot of people who think they have it, take their own life, they shoot themselves in the heart, not the head.
So that their brains could be studied. And that has happened.
It's real sad.
Multiple times. It's super sad. And again, not just football, hockey, looking at you. I know we love watching your players kiss, but your helmet's also probably not sufficient. It's a lot of sports. I'm sure rugby. I'm sure. There's just no way it's not, right?
Yeah, at most they wear leather helmets.
Right. Right. But this is a personal fascination for me. So the first 40 minutes of this movie really seemed to be actively going at the CTE angle, or at least a broader conversation about we encourage violence in our players, we groom them to accept and celebrate violence, and then we encourage them to play hurt all the time. And on top of that, it's a sport that we know actively hurts their brains in very specific ways. But then at the 40-minute mark, the movie then decides to try and tackle all of the problems with football. And I'm like, I know you probably didn't have enough to visually represent CTE for another hour, because after a while, you're like, this is a lot of montages of drills.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
And x-rays of them while they're in the scenes. Yeah.
Which I actually love. I love that they include the x-rays.
I thought it was dope. Yeah.
Right. But that, and then weird medical wellness treatments that they got, but I loved all of that, right? But then they're like, okay, now we're going to tackle parasocial relationships in fandom. Now we're going to tackle the exploitation of your own individual story into a media narrative. Now we're going to tackle the fact that even if your parent is not actively grooming you to be this person, the NFL as a media giant and a ubiquitous fandom in our society is grooming you to view it as the ultimate pinnacle of our society.
Yeah.
And we're going to tackle the fact that we turn people into deities for this sport that ignores the fact that they are also just people and flawed and overwhelmed and scared and just a young guy trying to play with a very bad head injury.
Yeah. No one's asking themselves, hey, what is this guy going to do when he retires at 40? When he's out of the league and he has half of his life left to live.
Yes.
What's his quality of life going to be?
Is it half because of the head injuries?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It statistically is not.
Yes.
It's way shorter.
It's way shorter.
Yeah.
Which, if you get into CTE shit, the real one to look at is wrestling, where the amount of wrestlers who have died before the age of 50 is rough.
Yeah. Paige.
Rough.
The total amount of protection most of them are wearing is a spandex, tighty whitey, more or less. They're out there just freeballing it with their brains.
Right. And Hulk Hogan recently died at 70. He was a shit person. I understand. But he's one of the few wrestlers to live that long. He at 70 dies of a heart attack, and people are like, shit, man, it's wild. If only most wrestlers could make it that long. That's a real thing. And I feel like all of the stuff that they do in the end of the movie, especially if you're looking at this as a critique of the NFL specifically. All of it is accurate and is a valid metaphor. It just is not put together well. It's a whole lot of like, we spent 40 minutes on one very concentrated, very well-crafted metaphor, and then we just kept adding things to the cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. And by the end, it's like, also the NFL is Satan. And you're just like, I mean, yes, I do want to watch him kill all these people.
I did want to watch that, and I'm so glad we got it, Paige.
Am I mad that Tim Heidecker explodes into a blood mist? No. At a certain point, I was just like, ah, ha, ha, go for it.
I mean, he literally kills everyone except for Zay's wife, who I guess earlier when they were like getting there had eaten a banana. And she like put her banana peel just where she dropped it and forgot she dropped it there because as she's running to kill him at the end, she slips and kills herself on it.
She slips and kills
herself. It's so
herself.
crazy to me that happens. This is why you don't run in heels on grass, ladies.
I think that is actually, and we didn't have a lot of time to examine it in the movie, a critique of what happens to the women who invest in the men who are the NFL. Like, there's a lot.
There's nothing in this movie that is not for the metaphor. So yeah, I'm 100%. Sure you're right. Yeah.
But that is kind of the problem because at a certain point you're like, this makes no sense. Like yes, I get what you're saying, but from a movie story point where we're like watching a story, it's all over the place. What's real, what's not. And that honestly was most of the critiques that I heard about this movie before I saw it, was that people were like, I get what you were going for, but it's a little all over the place. And honestly, I would say the same. Did I still enjoy watching it? Like, yeah, actually, like I would have rated this higher than most people who saw it as far as like enjoyment. But I fully understand why people did not like it, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think this is one people should check out, especially because it's not that scary.
No, it's bloody.
It's bloody. It's creepy. There's some creeping dread in it.
Yeah.
And like, it's just a big question of, is he going to make the quote right choice? Or is he going to make the choice everyone really would in that situation?
Which is to sign. Everyone would sign.
Yeah, which is just to sign and become the next GOAT, which I wouldn't blame anyone for making that choice, you know?
This is kind of the most challenging part of this movie for me because, like, the CTE stuff is very unique to the NFL. And again, that is why I think that metaphor works the best. But when they start getting into just the nuances of fame and society's relationship to fame, that applies generally, right? To anyone who steps into any sort of anything you would do at the highest levels where you have to train to do it and then become famous to do it.
Sure.
Anything like that, the back half of the movie kind of applies to. And when you get to the end and it's like, you did it. You fought through everything. You basically beat yourself up to get, air quotes, your dream, which, do we want to question why that became your dream? Sure, but that's another movie. We've already been here for an hour and a half.
Right.
Right? Like, it has cost you everything. You've sacrificed everything for your dream. Do you want your dream?
I think if we got a postquel to this movie that like explored what Cam's life was like after it, what we would learn is that no, it wasn't. Because he did say in this movie that like he told his dad he didn't want it. Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that's another separate movie of...
It's a whole... That's what I was saying. If we did a postquel to this, it would be...
How do our dreams become our dreams, right? That's the one metaphor they only kind of tackle, but still, like, most people would just sign because they're like, yes, this is what I've wanted to do the whole time. This is why I did it.
He's been groomed to want that, right? Like, that would be like if Broadway came to me and was like, hey, we have a contract for 20 years where you'll be working on Broadway in some capacity.
Right.
I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm signing that shit.
Right.
I don't care if I'll die at, 60 or whatever.
Oh, I was having big feelings about the back half of this movie for things that I can't talk about.
I know, Paige. I was thinking about that too. For you though, like, yeah.
Yeah. But at the end when they're like, just sign it. There's no additional sacrifice that they're asking of him except to sign it.
I know.
He has already done all of it.
Yes, I know.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
That's why I said, like, I would not blame him if he just signed it.
Right.
And then got everything he'd been working for his whole life to that point.
I would equally accept that as an ending.
Me too.
Of him signing and he's the next guy.
That's what I would have fucking done. Yeah, like exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I love the ending we got? Yes.
Me too, of course.
Is it a hot mess where I'm like, is that a goat or is that a goat? Yes, but like we'll get to it when we get to it. But that's the part of the movie that I wish had like a streamlining rewrite of like the back half of like, if we're going to tackle the other parts of this, how do we do it in a way that makes sense and continues to serve that CTE narrative?
Yeah.
That's all.
It does seem like they abandoned the CTE narrative like halfway through the movie, and they're just like, listen, he's already in the pros, or about to be. He's already got some CTE. Like, we can just drop it here. Right. You guys get what we're saying. Like, he definitely has it.
Right.
But we're moving through it.
Well, he's played college. He's about to be drafted into the pros, but...
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's been playing football for 15 years.
Enough time. Yeah. He's toast. His brain, toast.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, some people get through it fine. But some people don't.
Some people.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that if we don't cut their brains open after, but...
I don't think okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I don't want to, like, everyone who played in the NFL, like, grab their brain, after they're dead. So, like, yeah.
I actually do. I'm one of those people where I do think we should take everyone's brains. When the Brady roast happened, one of my best friends was assigned to Gronk and wrote with Gronk for the duration, and we need to study that man's brain.
Yeah.
Hardcore. Please cut his brain open later. Oof. But like, yeah, they do kind of abandon the CTE narrative. Now, here's what I will say. There could have been a through line where you honestly question if any of this is real.
Oh, yeah.
Or if this is a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
I mean, I'm choosing to believe that this movie is a Jacob's Ladder scenario when he died on the field after the ghost of Tsushima hit him in the head with a hammer.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Or I would also accept he goes and runs in the combine hurt and then wakes up and this is the everything that he's hurt. Like something like that. But we don't get that. The movie chooses to leave it ambiguous as to whether any of this is happening.
Yeah.
Or if this is all his ruminations on CTE, fan worship, the NFL's place in society, just fame's place in society. And honestly, again, I do one more pass on this, but like as a whole, I dig it. I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of those things where, because Jordan Peele produced this, did not direct it.
Right.
I understand why you want to produce this movie. If I got this script, I'd be like, oh yeah. Like, let's fucking go, right? And I think maybe it just needed one, like, just a little tweaking, and it could have been, like, really interesting. However, again, then we get back to the audience that is willing to invest and enjoy this from a sports standpoint to understand a lot of these aspects is not necessarily the same audience that wants to dig into the symbolism of film.
Exactly. Which is why I think the movie didn't, well, and we'll talk about this during box office, it did not do great in the theaters. And I think that makes sense because on the screen, if you're looking at like a trailer,
right,
it looks like it's going to be a movie, a horror movie for football fans.
Correct.
And this is a horror movie for people who are at least like, oh, I guess the Super Bowl is coming up soon, huh? Like, and that's very much me. And I do want, Paige, can we talk about what we were talking about right before we started recording this episode? Because I think it should be revealed because this episode is coming out right after the Super Bowl.
Right.
Guess which one of us sat down and thought that out, pre-planned it, and then scheduled to record this episode so that it could get out on that day. Guess which one of us?
The answer is neither of us.
Yes, it was a trick question. Neither of us realized that until right before we recorded the episode.
I think if you listen to if you pulled the raw recordings from the last episode when we were like, this is the episode we're going to do, and then talked to each other about it a little bit, I'm sure there's somewhere in there that we're like, yeah, plus the Super Bowl's coming up, right? Because neither of us know when it is.
I guarantee you one of us said that, yeah. But when we did, we weren't like, oh yeah, it's always this week in February or whatever. I don't know.
It's never the same week ever. I never know when the Super Bowl is until a week before, without fail.
Man, I never know when the Super Bowl is until I hear the ba-da-da-da-da-da, and then I'm like, oh God, is it the Super Bowl?
Oh, today?
Gong, 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 gong.
I don't even know the Super Bowl song. I just know the basketball song because it's got lyrics. The ba-ba-ba-ba-ba basketball, gimme, gimme, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it. Like, that's the only reason I know one.
Is that I don't think that's a real one.
Those are not official.
Okay,
no.
Okay. And man, if you want to know how much I love basketball, Paige had me with that one for a little bit. I was like, maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
It's not.
Although I do want everyone now to write parody lyrics to your favorite sport theme song.
But yeah, I don't know the football songs. But every year, and this year included, I mostly am just into the Super Bowl for appetizers.
Same. I'll go to any Super Bowl party and I'll be like,
who's playing?
I've done this many times. I've gone to someone's Super Bowl party and I literally say, who are we rooting for?
Yep.
And then I sit down on the couch and I root for that team.
Right?
Like I'm into it. I got up one point, this is when I was in San Diego. I got up one point, took off my sandal and threw it on the ground because I was so mad. All an act. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, the Patriots are getting screwed right now or whatever. It was definitely the Patriots because it was at my friend Rich's house. And I only did that because he had just done it too.
I tend to root for the team that is geographically closest to where I live.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I think this time it's Seattle. I don't know.
I couldn't even tell you who's playing. I just say all of this to say, know that when we say we like it, we're at least meh about football, you know, and if you like
Right.
football, you probably had a different reaction. Like if we got a takedown movie of Broadway, because I'm sure there's a ton of toxic shit around that.
So much.
And getting into it at that level, like you could do this movie about anything like that, I guess is my point.
Look, have you ever seen a dancer's foot?
Paid.
That's the real gross shit about Broadway.
Yeah, I'm not super into feet either, so like.
That and cocaine. There's a lot of cocaine.
That's one of those things that I'm afraid I would get into if I ever tried it. Feet,
100%.
I don't feel the same about. But Paige, perhaps we should get into this movie and go through it scene by scene.
Yes. We open, no credits.
Which you know I love. I do love the no credits right into it. Let's go.
That wins Todd over immediately.
It does.
But we're watching a quarterback, and this is definitely modeled after other famous career football players. And it is The Saviors is the name of the team.
Yeah, it's the name of the team. Which, okay, I don't think we ever officially get what their mascot is.
Yes, we should talk about it at the end because there's a lot. There's a lot.
Can I tell you really quickly what I wanted it to be?
Sure. Well, let's talk about it now. Let's go for it.
Someone who would normally look just a lot like me, or really anybody, in a Party City Jesus Christ costume. Like, I want it to be as cheap looking as possible. Like, that's what I want the mascot to be so badly.
That would have been hysterical.
Just holding like a mead, like a huge mug of beer. Like, that is what I want.
So they seem to have two kind of mascots that we see all the time. One of them is just a sombrero with fringe. Like it is just a fringe monster with a hat.
Oh, my favorite color, you mean? Fringe?
Fringe?
I thought that was very funny. I honestly didn't know if it was their mascot or just mascots as a concept. So they could be like mascots from any team in the league, really. Like to me, the fringe guy was kind of the Philly fanatic in my mind. I don't know why.
Look, I love the Philly fanatic. I also love Gritty. Philly has the best mascots. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, although Philly fanatic doesn't have fringe. I can't tell you why I thought that, but that's what I thought. And then the other guy, I was like, oh, this kind of just looks like Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, however you pronounce it.
They have a lot of like nebulous mascots with horns.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's one mascot that looks like a conquistador.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah. Because there's just so many. That's why I was like, these are just like mascots from throughout the league. And obviously the Saviors is a made up team name. So
who knows?
Maybe there's like a, Atlanta horned construction worker. I don't know. Yeah.
They're all kind of horns and fringe, which I do love because they are that nebulous. And you're like, yeah, exactly. What is a Frankenfriar? But the conquistador one I think is actually very important. And that's the one whose head is on the dais at the end with the NFL satanic cabal, which is notably all white.
Yeah.
And I think it is very much this idea of our team names and our mascots are colonial. And that comes up in conversation in the movie of like, there are people that invented this sport that are now reduced to mascots. When he says, don't be like me, but just don't be a mascot. Don't let them reduce you and your identity to a mascot. But then I think it's actually very gross, but in a metaphor, like accurate metaphor way, to have conquistadors as a mascot for the essentially white saviors team. it very much talks to the fact that like the NFL relies on the violence to black bodies in play, but is owned almost exclusively by old white men who've never stepped on the field.
Yeah.
And like, I felt like that's what they were kind of picking at with that one mascot.
They also do kind of point out the system that leads to that, because obviously if you are from generational wealth, you can achieve generational wealth without putting your body and life at risk, whereas most people have to trade time or trade like their body and health for wealth or for money even to survive, just because of the social class that you were born into. Like, that's not specifically a like race thing. It's
that's just a capitalism problem.
Yeah, it's more of a class thing. But I definitely think well, I don't know. I'm not qualified to speak about it, but yeah.
In professional sports, I feel like it plays out in a very specific way where this is seen as one of the ways to break out of generational poverty, which obviously is intersectional with white supremacy.
Yeah.
But this is what we're seeing in this opening scene is his dad being like, this is our team. This is who we root for. That's our guy.
Paige.
That's him. That's the guy.
And it's Isaiah White. It's the guy who we like do training camp with 15 years later because he's still in the NFL at that point.
Right, because you have to be, because what else is there after it?
Right. He's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 years into his first, few years in the NFL, right? When we're seeing Cam as a kid having this experience with his dad. And his mom's there too.
Right.
His mom's like very reinforcing of this behavior. I do think it's very funny that they do kind of call out we did it, like the parents are shouting when they didn't really do anything other than spend 3 hours watching this game.
You were sitting in your living room.
But that is something people say. Like sometimes when people say that, I'll like make the joke of like, because that would be like me walking out of like a Broadway play being like, man, did you see how we killed it up there? We just like crushed it on stage tonight, guys. And all I did was watch it. Like, to me, it's just like very silly behavior, but I like that this movie points it out and also establishes that is like a core belief of Cam.
Yes.
It is who he is.
Yes.
And that is one of the reasons he is like, I'm going to say groomed because that's the language the movie uses, but like groomed into wanting to play football at this level. It's not the reason, but it's definitely one of the reasons.
Here's something that I think about all the time with professional sports. I feel like if that was my thing, if that was my dream that I worked so hard for my entire life, I'd want to play for my hometown team to be like, here's where I'm from, here's what my thing is or whatever.
Yeah.
And you kind of get traded to wherever and you have to be excited to play for wherever. And most people are because like it's the chance of a lifetime to like do the thing.
I definitely understand why you'd be like, but I'm taking my talents to South Beach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why you do that.
Yeah.
But listen, I would want to play for my home team too.
Right.
But if someone offered me a ton more money.
Right. No, of course.
Yeah.
That's just something I think about. This movie doesn't really address it. I think this movie very wisely narrows their focus by just focusing on his team that his dad rooted for, which also, when that gets down to like his dad passed away, now that's part of his identity or his dad's identity and how he's like, he sacrificed for me, so I play for him. Yeah. Kind of a deal.
Yes.
Which is absolutely part of the Aaron Hernandez case.
Yep.
Like, that's one of those things that I'm like, this is ripped from the pages of the newspaper.
I'm sure you have, and if you haven't, please do, listened to the last podcast on the left, episodes on them. Like, they do a really great sort of, I think, somewhat compassionate look at the Aaron Hernandez story.
Yes.
So, like, if you haven't listened to that, guys, listen to it. It's really good. It's really sad, though, because he did some terrible, terrible things. But it also really does look into kind of how he got there.
Yes.
That's what I mean by a sort of a compassionate look at it. It's not just like, oh, he was a monster. He was always a monster. It's like, here's how he kind of was made into a monster.
Right.
And it's not just football. I think that is definitely a part of it. And I agree with your earlier statement that without it, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
For like wealth and CTE reasons.
It's a lot of reasons, right? It's the all of it that football brings.
But the episode really goes into like all of it. It looks at the holistic reason it happened, which I appreciate.
I think they did a great job. And you're right. And by compassionate, I don't mean absolving Aaron Hernandez.
At all. They don't do that at all.
At all. But looking at the whole of how someone like this comes to be.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that the documentary also did a good job of this because the documentary spends a lot of time looking at CTE.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, those are factors, right?
Definitely.
Anyway, back to this movie.
Although I do want to say this about this movie as we get back to it.
Sure.
The first line of the movie is a sportscaster saying sports.
Yes.
Where theater becomes reality. And I was
hilarious.
Like, what? Like, there are plenty of times where like theater impacts the real world. Rude. Do you not remember after, in Brussels, 1830, when we all just heard this lady sing in, I don't know, it's like the mute girl from Portishead, and we all got up and literally led a revolution that revolutionized that country? Like, they're under a constitutional monarchy right now because of that musical.
I mean, yes.
So eat a dick, sportscaster.
But I feel like this is just to reflect how nonsensical sportscasters sound at all times.
That's fair.
Like,
he does kind of sound insane.
It always does. It sounds crazy. But then they just say things like, got a lot of hustle. He's got great hustle on him. He's hustling across the field. He's got coming up from the Old Miss. He's got a lot of hustle. Like, it's just nonsense.
I'll tell you what, guys, I'm pretty sure the team with the most points at the end of this game is going to be the winner. Like, that's what it all sounds like to me.
Look, you put it all out on the field. You take it all home from the field.
Yeah.
You run it on the field, and then you hustle. Bringing that hustle all the way across the field, you got to get touchdowns to win the game, and that's how the game is played. Like, that's how they sound all the time.
Yeah. But again, you and I are kind of mad on football. I bet they're actually great.
Maybe.
All I'm saying is it's possible that you and I are the problem in this. And that's why I think this movie kind of failed, is because this movie's not for people who like football.
Right. I mean, I would argue that you and I might be the football guys of movies.
Yeah, I think that's...
Where we're just like, the pacing is off, and you got to get the hustle to get through Act 2.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, we're no better than football fans. We're just weird about something else, you know?
True. Anyway, back to the movie.
Yeah.
As they're watching the sports, we see that Isaiah White, who's the quarterback that they're following, has been injured. He basically he ran it in instead of throwing it and got tackled and has like a compound fracture on his knee, it looks like, or shin or whatever. It looks real bad.
Yeah, it's painful, I'm sure.
Yeah, and here's where the movie sets its gambit, because Cam's dad in that moment doesn't say, oh my God, he's so hurt, I hope he's okay. He says, real men make sacrifices, and the important thing is that we won.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. It's not the best. Not the best.
No, because it sets up a belief system of, it is worth it because we won. You and your body are expendable for the competition, for the win.
Yeah.
And it removes a lot of personhood from those people, because the reality is that most people don't come back from those injuries. And now that person is 32 and has significant medical issues for the rest of their life and doesn't have the millions of dollars to pay for it.
No, that guy's going to be a used car salesman in 2 years. It's really sad.
100%.
Although we're talking about Isaiah, right? So we know what happens to him, but people who get injured before they go into the NFL, or even, people who don't make a ton of money but get injured after their first or second season, you're not set up for life.
Oh, this is going to sound crazy, but I, living in Los Angeles, know multiple people married to NFL players. Not current, but the amount of people that play in the NFL is way more than you think.
Yeah, they're big teams.
Yeah, a lot of them are real estate agents or car salesmen or whatever, or an accountant or whatever, because they either were second or third string but still got paid enough and got on the field one time, or they only played for 2 seasons, or they played for a team that maybe, lost a lot or whatever. And now they're just a shockingly large man who's what can I do to get you into a Nissan Sentra today?
The reason I said you use car salesman is because I know a guy who used to play for the Titans and now does that.
Yeah, I don't know who this one girl's husband used to play for. I just know that she yells about it all the time. That she's just I got me a man from the NFL. I was he just looks like a 50-year-old very tall dude.
He probably is.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that sets up what this movie is going to kind of tackle, because we cut to 14 years later.
Yeah.
And that same sportscast is who's the next Isaiah? Because it's never enough to acknowledge one person's achievements. It has to be, well, who's the next guy?
Right.
Which diminishes all of the work the other person put in.
But because it's not about the person, Paige, it's about the brand.
Yes.
It's about the team, right? Or the league, or, so I mean, it's all about who's going to be the next general of this team, you know, because that's what like the QB
Right.
position is.
Right.
Or that's the way they set it up. I'd argue it's more like the platoon leader that is getting sent to die by the general, but whatever.
Yeah. But this is 14 years later, and not only is Isaiah White still playing, he's winning his 8th championship.
Yeah.
This is definitely supposed to be, I think, kind of like a Tom Brady analog a little bit. And the reason I say that is because of Tom Brady's relationship to Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Which is, if you listen to the last podcast or
they do talk about it.
If you watch the documentary, they talk about it. But also this idea of, and I guess not just him, there have been multiple quarterbacks like this where they keep winning so they don't retire.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you are old. And like as a QB, yeah, your arms are part of the problem and you get tackled occasionally, but QBs last longer because they're not actively tackled all the time.
Yeah.
And so they like don't retire, but it's kind of one of those things of like, do you go out on top after winning your 8th championship or do you play until you can't win anymore?
Yeah.
And it's this real tough, like, do you give up the spotlight or do you not?
That's Zay's arc in this kind of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because everyone's like, congrats on a great year. Essentially, you have your 8th Super Bowl ring, but when are you going to quit?
Yeah. Everyone's sort of like, hey, when are you going to retire, my man?
When are you going to retire?
Yeah. Like the press, the coach, everyone are asking more or less.
I get wild questions like this about fucking roast battle, which means nothing. But like, because I quit this year, I was like, I'm out. But I like got to playoffs and then didn't win. And people are like, yeah, there's next year. And I was like, no, there's not. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this anymore. The guy who beat me, good for him.
Yeah.
Like he deserves all of it. Right. But like, I think sometimes other people's desire to win by association.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Pushes them to push people to stay in longer. And I think that's absolutely the thing here of like, the team enjoying that he's winning is now questioning like, well, if you go away, how do we keep winning? It's like, you technically were never winning, but like,
yeah,
whatever. Anyway, we see his girlfriend in the locker room, which I have thoughts about her character.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's a really interesting inclusion that they don't do enough with.
Oh, I was going to say, she's not in it very much.
She's not in it
I mean, he
very
does
much.
reference her when he goes to the training camp, but she's not in it at that point.
No, but I think she represents a thing that they contrast it against Cam a little bit because Cam has a girlfriend that he's known since high school that he is like, she's my girl, I'm sticking with her.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone kind of laughs at that. And I think Zay's wife, Elsie, we'll meet her in a little bit, but we see her in this scene, is almost assigned by the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it is definitely this reflection of like, you get to a certain level of fame in the NFL or any sport really, and you get the arm candy girlfriend who doesn't know you, really only knows the player version of you and is actively incentivized to keep that version going. And again, I have sympathy for those women as well. They move around where the team goes.
Yeah.
They have a spotlight on them. They are supposed to like keep up appearances. I follow this one girl. I believe her boyfriend plays for the Cowboys, but they were like high school sweethearts and she has like stayed and he just got drafted. And the conversation became about how dare she be plus size and dating an NFL person.
Jesus.
Because the cameras are always on her. And she's like, suck it, I'm hot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love you. That's great. Right? So it's like, there's a whole other conversation about what the lives of those women are like. But I think Elsie in this really represents the arm candy version that then starts a lifestyle brand that kind of spins out his career into their own thing.
That is basically the NFL wife, Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
Yes. She's fascinating, and we don't get a ton of her in the movie, but we get enough for me to be like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. But at this point, we're overhearing the newscaster. So like he's just won his 8th ring and he goes and he's like sitting in the locker room while everyone else is celebrating.
Yeah.
And his wife is with him. But as they're celebrating, the voiceover from the sportscaster is still like, Cameron Cade is probably the next. He's got potential.
Yeah.
We've been watching him from college.
Yeah, he's like the top QB prospect coming up out of the college, league, more or less.
Right.
And they expect him to be drafted by the Saviors, so
Right.
it's possible that he could be the next Isaiah, right?
Right. And so like we cut to an interview in his house, which is something they do, especially if you're going to go for the draft. They like show, there's like media at your house and shit. And they're talking about like, okay, your dad is dead. I bet a bunch of ladies are coming for you. No, I have a girlfriend. I love her or whatever.
Yeah.
But as they're talking about his dad, he almost kind of shuts down a little bit of just like, yeah, no, I tried really hard and whatever. And I like, I had to do it for him. And I was like, in my notes, I'm just like, this has shades of Aaron Hernandez, like right here, like all the stuff he's saying. Who also, by the way, had a girlfriend from like high school that he like kept the whole time.
Yep.
Cheated on her a lot, but like that is the woman that is now embroiled in legal controversy.
Yeah.
But we cut to him on his like high school hometown field.
Yeah.
Which is also like, if you're going to get drafted and you played in high school, your high school will throw a party for you if you get drafted. Like
for sure, yeah.
Hardcore.
But he's just like running drills and stuff,
Yeah. And is throwing and hitting either side of the goalpost, which is hard to do.
I know, it's 18.6 feet, right?
Yeah.
And he can't even get it through once from like 20 yards away, and this guy wants to be in the NFL? Jesus, right? Now, I know he was trying to prove that he could just barely touch either side, but it's really funny to be like, man, he missed twice. He's so close to them.
Well, and so he's throwing and he like kind of turns around and we see a mascot, again, nebulous horns, fringe, come up behind him with that kind of axe tool that we will see later on.
It's the hammer with the spike on the side. It's like a Viking weapon. I don't know if it really is, but that's what I associate it with.
Right. And hit him over the head. And we immediately cut to x-rays and his doctor being like, hey, it could be weeks to years for him to recover from the trauma to his brain.
Yeah.
He needs rest. And they're like, well, but the NFL Combine's next week. We'll get a second opinion. And then the doctor says, and this broke my heart because I know this is real. The doctor says, as your doctor, I can't tell you it's safe to play football. And he says, but as a fan.
Yeah.
And then he's at the combine.
Yeah.
Which means that doctor signed off.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because he doesn't even answer it, just cuts right to it. But
yeah.
he signed off on it. Yeah.
Yep. But this is where we also meet his agent, Tom, played wonderfully by Tim Heidecker. Like, so good.
Every time he's on the screen, I was like, oh, is this Ballers? Because he feels like he belongs in that show. You know what I'm saying?
I've never watched that show, but I would assume, it fits.
It's like a bunch of sleazy agents, more or less.
Yeah.
Paige. Yeah. And he would fit right in as like a, side character around The Office.
Right. I also feel like this is where Tim Heidecker's character is also the part that scratches at my entertainment industry brain a little bit, because that's how other agents will also often act.
Yeah, because I would say he's just like a stand-in for any agent. It doesn't have to be a sports agent. Yeah, I agree.
There's, in particular, we'll get to it, where there's a particular phone call that I was like, ooh, it's just like, gave me goosebumps.
Tim Heidecker's character is really good at like getting people to do what he wants them to do because he is great at manipulating them specifically.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so they're getting ready for the combine and Cam is overwhelmed. And the movie does a great job of illustrating it visually of like, his mom is worried about him.
Yeah.
Is still going to let him play the combine. She still was the one that wanted to get a second opinion with the doctor, but she's like second guessing it now and is like, hey, you don't have to do this. Like, we'll figure it out. His brother, who we reveal was also a football star, but just didn't get as far as Cam has, is absolutely trying to coattail his way into the luxurious life of the NFL without actually playing. And he's the one that's like cutting Cam's hair.
Yeah, he's kind of fallen into like that like head of the entourage probably is the right word for it. Like he probably will be given a position that has like a title and a salary at some point.
Right.
But more or less, he's just like the first entourage member. And that would make sense.
Right.
It's his brother. Like there are so many people who are like famous who like hire one of their or all of their family to do various jobs, just to kind of keep them
close.
Yeah, keep them close, but also like elevate the life that they can have,
Right.
you know, and some of those jobs are real and some of those jobs aren't real, if you know what I'm saying, you know.
It's also, I would say it's a catch-22. Sometimes you hire your family, sometimes you don't.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people who absolutely don't, and I'm sure have great reasons for doing either.
No, I mean, like, I guess don't's not the good word. Sometimes you shouldn't.
Oh.
And I would say oftentimes you should not hire your family.
Yeah.
Not that I love my family. They have their own jobs. Like, there are people that have made industry jobs their whole job. And sometimes those people have a better sense of what needs to happen.
I could tell you for every sibling I have, I would hire them and for what job.
Sure.
But largely because we all grew up poor, so we had to learn functional things.
Sure. Yeah.
So like my brother would definitely be head of IT. My sister who works for the State Department would definitely be my lawyer.
Right.
And my sibling who works in healthcare would be like our head healthcare person. They would be our medic.
My sister works in talent acquisition, so she could screen the people that I would hire. But my sister, I think, also would not want to work for me, and I fully respect that.
Oh, I think every one of my siblings would tell me no, yeah. And maybe should. I would be probably not a great boss, but yeah.
Right. But anyway, as he's cutting Cam's hair, he nicks one of his head staples and like, oof.
That would hurt.
That would hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But it basically pulls him out of, the combine that day.
Well, but it really like wakes him up from the catatonic state he's in, because the whole conversation that's happening while they're setting this up is like,
Right.
He's in hair and makeup for the combine because he's about to go be in the NFL combine where you like jump as high as you can and run the 40 or the 440 or whatever as fast as you can. And like those numbers matter, man. Like when it comes to the draft, like that is what the professional scouts look at as like, okay, that's as fast as that person can go. That's as high as that person can jump.
Right.
And then they're using all of that data to be like, okay, well, this person should be first round for sure, or we can miss them on the first round because we don't have to have them. They're like a good to have. It's like that kind of stuff. So it matters, but it kind of wakes him up from this catatonic state as they're arguing about it because he's like just very catatonic, and the nick wakes him up.
Right.
And he like yells about how I gotta do it. It doesn't matter. I have to do it. I've been working my whole life for this.
Right.
And then it seems like he's about to go do it. And then it reveals by cutting to the next scene that he didn't do it. And that next scene is that Tim Heidecker like doing a press conference about why he wasn't in the combine, because it was so expected that he would be that it's news that he wasn't. It's like that. Right. It's that crazy that he didn't do this.
Which for certain people, it does become news if they don't do it.
It does. Absolutely. Think about like when we were like in high school and stuff, and like LeBron James was in high school.
Right.
Before he even went pro, I knew who he was. He was on the news. Like people talked about him.
Right.
And Cam is in college.
Right.
He's like 4 or 5 years after that. So he's probably had press coverage for a while in his life, even though he hasn't been at the professional level.
Right.
But he definitely was on the path, and people were paying attention.
Well, that's like recently, I believe Colin Kaepernick went to go back to do a combine because he had played for a while and got a raw deal. And like, people were shitty to him, right?
Yes.
And so like kind of stepped away and then went to go back. And to do that, went back through the combine. And it was news that he was going to be there. And it was like a whole thing. Yeah. And even me, not football person, knows that was happening.
That's how I know the combine's a big deal.
Right.
Because I know about it.
Right. Anyway, he didn't do it. He does go to some of the parties. He runs into a fan who wants an autograph, who absolutely triggers his PTSD because it's dressed as the mascot who hit him. And like, it's one more recognition that like, he's not ready to be back. Like at all.
Well, yeah. And also that going back will hurt him.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is foreshadowing more or less. And it is also kind of setting up the cult fandom nature of it.
Yeah.
But I think this party is just like, I don't know what a party would be like if you were expected to be drafted first round,
Yes.
And like people trying to sell you jewelry on credit.
Yes.
And, people trying to like sleep with you and friends trying to exploit you, or quote friends trying to exploit you, like 100% that.
It is literally everyone trying to get on the bandwagon before it takes off.
Yes.
Yes. So while he's at the party, his brother is like, hey, your agent's been calling. So he picks up the phone from his agent. This is the phone call that gave me fucking chills.
Yeah, because he like lays down in the bathtub.
Yeah, to get away from everything.
Yeah.
But it's his agent basically being like, you've got a chance to do something great, but I need you to say yes right now.
Yeah.
And it is that pressure of like, why would you ever say no? This is what you wanted. No, you don't have time to think about it. You just have to say yes right now.
He ties it to the dad thing too, pretty hard.
Yes.
Like he knows the buttons to push to manipulate Cam.
Right.
And guys, it's because it's his job to know that.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what your dad would have wanted, but it's also this sense of urgency and this thing of like, if you say no, why am I even here? And I might go away too.
I mean, he definitely would. He's an agent. He would have to move on to the next player because that's his job. Yeah.
Right. But it's that pressure of like, this is a choice that will impact your entire life. And because I make money on you saying yes, I'm going to do as much as I can to get you to say yes.
Yeah. That's why it's their job to get you to say yes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this happens in all areas of the entertainment industry with people who don't know the industry. And that's why they say yes. Like,
yeah.
I feel like this is something that I had to talk to people about a lot this week because like a very famous comedian who I've worked with and who is a wonderful gem of a person was on a reality show and treated very badly on a reality show. And people are like, he should have known that's what would happen. I was like, no, even people who've been in the industry don't realize how bad reality shows are to people sometimes. And like, leave them alone. But it's the same thing of like, don't you want to do this? It's the chance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It is.
Yeah.
And it is also the chance of a lifetime. Like he's been working his whole life for this chance. But because of him skipping out of the combine, the agent does also kind of position this as his only way to get into the NFL because he skipped the combine.
Right.
Which is absolutely not true. But this is definitely a path to that though.
Right.
And we come to find out why he was attacked. And it was to get him to not go into the combine. Like that was a setup by the saviors.
Yes.
Because they wanted a pipeline straight to them, which is what they get because of it.
Yeah. It's one more step of the grooming. It's like they groomed him from childhood and he sees the pictures later of like his dad with the coach. It's like they picked him, they groomed him, they hurt him so that they could get him probably at a lower rate. And like, that this was their plan all along.
Yep.
Anyway, the chance that he is given, as described by the agent, is to go train with Isaiah White for a week and have him evaluate if the team should draft him.
Yeah.
So this is basically his own personal combine with Isaiah.
It's honestly just like a 1-week training camp, really.
Yes.
And I do like that it's not just a movie where like the whole thing is running drills. It's like a day and a half of that. And then it goes into like what maybe a QB and someone who is going to have to operate at the level of fame that this quarterback will have to operate at. Like it's a kind of a training camp for like media, like, and like how to deal with all of the things that come with fame. So I like that we got to live in those worlds too, but it does start as just like a straight up training camp.
Yes. And this is the equivalent of if someone called me and was like, you got to work with Tina Fey for a week and then you've got a job on SNL.
I would die.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
I would be so scared though, because I have no business writing at that level.
Or it would be like, hey, Paige, you're about to go spend a week at Quentin Tarantino's house. Terrifying.
Yeah, bring boots and keep them on.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Socks the whole time.
Yeah.
But then you get to make whatever movie you want.
Yeah, I'd be showing up in sandals, no socks. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Barefoot the whole time.
Yeah.
I just got a pedicure. I'm not going to show feet on Maine, but like, yeah.
Paige, I'm going to say this. I bet he'd prefer it if you just left him dirty.
I mean, who knows? Some foot people want them clean. Some foot people want them dirty. Look, if at some point my husband was like, I'm a foot person, I will paint your nails whatever you want, I'd be like, wonderful. We're about to save money. But like,
so much. We're going to save so much money. Yeah.
So much money. But like, not every foot person is like that.
Fair.
Some people just sleep in a bed shaped like a foot. Anyway, so he goes out to Isaiah's compound, which is in the middle of nowhere. And as he's driving there, there's a bunch of fans right outside that refer to Isaiah as the deity.
Yeah. I mean, they do worship him like a god, and they're yelling at Cam.
Yeah.
Because they don't want him.
We don't want you.
Yeah. But I don't know if it just seems like it was mainly her.
Marjorie.
And then she had two sort of acolytes under.
Yes.
Who were also kind of crazy in her cult.
Right.
And it seems like her cult is just like she's in love with Isaiah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think he has entertained it. This is one of those things that the movie does not get into enough. Like, if you wanted to comment on it in the movie, we needed a little bit more about it. because this is the parasocial relationship. But it's from both sides where like she obviously has hallucinated a relationship with this person in her mind to then place that much importance on his comings and goings. Because I need you all to remember, be it the hockey boyfriends or this or anybody, you don't know these people. You only have seen what is on the screen of them.
Yeah.
They are full people outside of that.
Yep.
And you don't know them.
Paige, remind me when we get to the scene where the fan crawls into the sauna.
Yes.
To tell you what I think they're saying with Isaiah's character and the fans, because I have a whole theory about it.
100%. We'll talk about this more then, because I also feel like on the performer side, or the person who is being fanned on, if you want to think of it that way, there are different ways to interact with that. And I think Isaiah is entertaining it for personal validation. And that is where it gets really dark, because they still don't know him. He is using them for validation. And that is a dangerous relationship to cultivate.
Yeah.
Real rough. Especially like if we look at Isaiah in the movie, all of his life details are on display in the media all the time. He has been the guy for this team forever. And so everyone feels like they know him and have ownership of him because he's their team guy, right?
Yes.
But the same does not exist in the reciprocal. So like if you come up to somebody and you're like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan, I know this much about you, they don't know anything about you. It is like a stranger on the street running up to you and reciting your address. It's fucking terrifying.
But to me, it's like, I say this at meetups sometimes. I feel like I'm the worst friend in the world.
Right.
Because you all know so much about me and I don't know anything about you. And I don't listen to your podcast. And I know that you don't have one. That's all I'm saying. But like, I just don't know you like you know me. And it makes me feel like I'm a terrible friend.
And it's not your fault, but it's one of those things that I think the internet has made it very easy for people to conflate that feeling of knowing somebody and then actually knowing them because they're too accessible.
Yeah.
And like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And it can happen to anybody, right?
Yeah. Anyway, we probably got to move on.
We do.
But
we do.
I understand what you're saying 100%.
I mean, we do have to move on, but it is a lot of montages. It's fine. He walks into the building. Now, this building looks like the hallway that leads out onto the field.
It does.
It's almost designed to kind of look that way. It also kind of looks like a butt.
Which, yes, it kind of does. And they also, like, later, actually, I think right in this, like, next little area when he's meeting everybody, they give him something to put in that butt.
Yeah, they do. In a couple scenes, they do. It's a little bit later. And it looks angular. And I feel like that's not the right state.
Oh, it looks like a geode of, like, straight up kryptonite.
Also, don't put things in your butt that don't have like a plug handle on the outside, or else you'll end up on the list that Armando and I read on our podcast every year of things removed from rectums. Butt plugs look the way they look for a reason.
It's the same reason pacifiers look the way they look.
Actually, yes.
It's because your internal system, I believe, is a negative like loop system or whatever, and it means it sucks in, like it's always kind of sucking in whether you want it to or not. It just is. So yeah, that's why. Because your butt will just suck it in. That's why.
Yeah, your butt will just eat things.
Yeah.
Your butt is hungry.
Never go like light bulb end first is what we're saying.
Don't put light bulbs in your butt at all, is what I'm saying.
Of course.
Just don't.
Right.
Get a butt plug that looks like a light bulb.
But put the correct end first. We've got to move on. We can't talk about this. Yeah.
I can't talk about your butt that much. Anyway, he picks up their Amazon packages, which I think is a nod to like, they're just normal people in an extraordinary situation.
Yeah.
That they just have Amazon packages outside. But he goes in, he meets Isaiah, who is actively, in my notes is like doing arts and crafts. But what he's doing is he has hunted animals and is turning their skin into footballs.
Yes. He's making footballs out of animal leather that he is like tanning himself. Which means there is definitely in that room a jar full of his piss, because that is how you used to like tan hide to make it into leather. I'm sure they have a different process that doesn't use urine now, but I prefer to think they don't.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just an ammonia solution now. But
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, this is the scene where he explains kind of why he's doing what he's doing. And it's kind of in reverence to the people, I don't know if they like invented football, although it is kind of a variation of games that were played by Native Americans.
Right.
But it's specifically about the Native Americans who sort of popularized and then sort of dominated after the forward pass became legal.
Right.
And how they are now just looked at as like mascots.
Right.
But this is like his way of, I think, honoring them and that story, because it is very QB centric or quarterback centric, because that's when that position became like the general of the team, you know?
Right.
Because the ball gets in your hands every snap, unless it's like a trick play kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So you're calling the play typically, or at least you're the one leading the play every time.
Yeah. Well, I also think this is his warning to Cam of the white men that control this game only value you when it benefits them.
Yes. Yeah.
So like be aware of that, right?
Yes. But that's the whole story he's telling about the Carlisle Indians that invented the forward pass. Like that's that whole thing, right? And that's the way he refers to them, you know.
It was the team name. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he takes his cell phone, no porn, just football, mini boot camp or whatever. And we get day one. I do love that the movie breaks it into days. Day one is fun.
Yeah.
And it is basically just drills.
Yeah, it's like fundamentals. It's not that fun.
Right. But after running drills all day, he meets Marco, the team doctor, who like realigns his shoulder and does like a physical where they like trick him into getting naked and then make fun of him for it. But this is also where we get Cam's measurements, where he's 6'5".
Yeah, he's tall.
With an 84-inch wingspan.
Yeah. I mean, he makes Marlon Wayans look kind of small when he stands next to him.
And Marlon Wayans is not a small guy.
He's not.
No.
It would be like if I was standing next to Marlon Wayans. Like, that's how he looks standing next to Cam, you know?
Yeah. No, I have seen Marlon in real life. Not a small man, but like dwarfed by this gentleman in the movie.
Yeah.
But he basically is like, my dad, worshipped you or whatever. And he's like, I remember when you had that injury. And he says, he's like, yeah, my injury was worse than yours, but I got back on the field.
Yep.
But I damn near killed myself in rehab to get back on the field because you love something. And this is where he first asks, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, what's your sacrifice, Cam? And Cam is like, well, my family sacrificed for me to be here.
Yeah. And
what he brings this back up later, but like, here's where he starts the germ of it. But when he brought it back up later, I think it's one of the few things in this movie that is actually not bad advice if you're in some sort of pursuit that has an elite version of it in society.
Sure.
We'll get to it in a bit.
Yeah. Can I point out that in this scene, because I think it's important, they bring it up later, that Zay or Isaiah, Marlon Wayans, is getting a blood transfusion with, it says it's his own blood at this point.
Right.
We come to find out what it actually is, but we also see Jim Jeffries in this scene because he's playing the sports medicine guy.
Oh, Jim Jeffries is pretty good in this movie.
Paige, I want to say this about Jim Jeffries.
Not always a great person.
I don't know him personally. I don't. But I am going to say this about Jim Jeffries. Casting him as a dude that when he's in the scene will inject you with whatever he wants.
Accurate.
Felt very consistent to how I see Jim Jeffries in real life. So when I saw him acting for the first time in this role, I was like, oh, that makes sense. You put Jim Jeffries in that role because that's the kind of vibe he has. Although I don't know that he's ever done anything like that in real life. But if you see his stand-up, it is sort of very I don't know. I could see it.
He's done that in real life.
Right? Yeah, I could see it. I don't know. I've never met him. I could see it, though.
That man has done so many drugs.
But at the end of this movie, when he becomes kind of like the only guy who was looking out for Cam, I was like, oh shit, Jim Jeffries can kind of act.
Jim Jeffries can act.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed by it. Because he goes on a journey in this movie, and we see it. Like the scene where he's talking to him one-on-one before he tells him to run in that final scene, I was like, damn, I didn't know Jim Jeffries had this gear at all.
So I did. Jim can act. I would say that one of Jim's biggest faults as just a person is often not seeing things from other people's points of view and then sometimes saying things in the moment that he then has to apologize for later. But I will say I knew a handful of people that worked for him back when he had a talk show. And no one has anything bad to say about him as a boss, which in this industry is huge.
That's saying something, yeah.
I would say Jim often sometimes says things and then is like, oh, that was...
Kind of has a foot in the mouth syndrome thing.
Oh, yeah, a lot of the time.
I don't really know, largely because I don't pay attention and I'm so sorry, but if you like make those mistakes, get corrected and like, shit, guys, I did not know that that was a thing. I'm so sorry. And like you own it, like I have no problem with that. I mean, obviously, if there was no criminality involved, if it was just like you used a word that is like offensive. But I give myself a lot of like grace in that because I do that all the time and people correct me all the time. And I always like try to apologize and learn from it, you know? So like.
He goes through phases, I would say.
Fair enough.
But I think it's very dependent on how his life is going.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But if you look at the way I spoke when we first started this podcast, when you sounded differently.
Sure.
Like I was a terrible person.
Yeah.
So like I've learned a lot because people have reached out and been like, hey, did you know that this is offensive for this reason? And then I'm like, oh shit, my bad.
Damn it.
Yeah.
But here's what I will say. In this movie, I think the casting was great. I think he does a great job.
Me too. The drama gear that he has, I did not know about, and I was very impressed by.
And it's the perfect blend of like disaffected, of like, I got into this business to be a doctor and now I do this.
Yeah, we'll get to that in his scene because it's great.
Yeah. But after the physical, Cam runs into Elsie.
Yes, it's Isaiah's wife. Yeah.
Isaiah's wife, Elsie. And this is where she's selling jade eggs, vaginal eggs.
More or less. They're not, it's not. It's just like, but that's why I was like, this is just Gwyneth Paltrow as an NFL wife, you know?
So she says it's jade eggs and then it's $1 to end endometriosis. And then she's like, we make it for men now, and hands him a crystal that you should not insert.
Yeah, no, it looks like a thing of kryptonite. Yeah.
Yes.
Which like, if you're about to like, if you're Lex Luthor and like, Superman's coming over to top you, like that's where you're going to put the kryptonite for sure.
Oh, for sure. But she does, as she's leaving, she's like, put it in your butthole. Have fun. Bye.
That is what she says.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cam gets to take an ice bath. Jealous.
I loved the transition from day 1 to day 2 because, and this is where Isaiah is actually getting the blood transfusion that Jim Jeffries sort of set up for him. I mentioned that earlier, but this is where it's actually happening because Cam and him are having a conversation when he's in the ice bath. The transition from day 1 to day 2, though, when they're done with the conversation, we kind of just recapped, and Cam pushes his whole body under the water, and then it sort of like fades to black a little bit, but Cam's body is still in view, and then it cuts to him just laying on his bed and someone splashing water on him.
To wake him
up. And he's got to like wake up, and it looks like it's all in one shot. Like they did it so well. I loved it. But it very much is like a 5 a.m. wake up for a big day of drills, and he's like getting yelled at like it's boot camp. It's just a dope transition, man.
All the transitions in this are really interesting and really feed that sense of, is this a dream? Is this really happening?
Yeah.
Is this just one long dream that kind of bleeds into the next, into the next, into the next?
Yeah.
But this is also the first time Cam tries lychee. Good for him.
But this day is called Poise.
Day 2 is Poise.
I was like, are we watching RuPaul's Drag Race all of a sudden?
Uniqueness, nerve, and yeah. But he goes running with Isaiah and he can't keep up. He ends up getting heat stroke. He throws up.
Yeah.
He's laying on the ground. He's seeing the mascot in kind of like hallucinations.
It comes over and smashes him in the head. It like kills him. It does what he does to the mascot at the end, more or less.
Yeah. And he's cramping, so they bring him back. Isaiah has him drink something. We don't know fully what it is, and we see him drinking what looks like Gatorade through most of this movie.
Yeah.
We don't officially know what it is. But anyway, they get back to kind of the training area. He's drinking, and he's getting injected because, again, Jim Jeffries' character, Marco, is just constantly injecting him without him even asking what it is. Just like, here you go.
Yeah, he's like, this will set you up, or this will fix you, or whatever, as he's injecting him. It doesn't ever say, as a doctor, what he's injecting him with.
Yep. But they go back to the training area, and now they've brought in a bunch of free agents to play catch. And he's doing a thing where he's like closing his eyes and catching the snap and then throwing. And he's got 2 seconds to decide where to throw it and to complete the pass.
There's a big but. Yeah, because they're also setting up that one of the quote walk-ons that's just there to practice with them and are literally sacrificing their bodies to do that.
Right.
And they're symbolizing that by a guy just standing in front of one of those like automatic ball launchers.
Turned all the way up.
Well, they turned all the way up over the course of this scene, but it's like at 30 miles an hour and then gets up to like 80, I think, or something like that.
Yes.
But like over the course of the scene, if Cameron makes a mistake, they launch a ball into this guy's face and then turn it up so the next one hits harder. And it's, I think, a really, like, it's just a really clear metaphor of they are putting their teammates' bodies at risk every play. And if they make a mistake, they could be damaging a person that is not them, you know?
Right.
And I think that obviously that's true of this sport specifically, but it's very clear what the metaphor is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he is playing with them and initially is doing well, but then misses a pass and the first ball to the face happens.
Yeah.
And then it happens over and over and over again. And I do think it's interesting that they like very carefully place the laces out every time they put the ball in.
And you hear the leather creaking into place. Like it's really well done.
Yes. But Isaiah, as this is happening, is like, because Cam is worried about that guy that's getting hurt. And Isaiah's like, you can't worry about him. He doesn't matter. All the blame is on your shoulders.
Yep.
Brutal.
Which is, I think, the way people look at it.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Monday morning quarterbacking. When people are at the water cooler at work, like, oh, it's so dumb that he couldn't make that pass or like made that decision or whatever, you know?
Right.
It is all on their shoulders.
Yeah. And so they end the drill. He calls Marco over to get him help. Marco doesn't move, doesn't help him.
No.
Not at all.
I think this is like the first crack in Marco's like veneer of, I love my life. I have a great sports medicine job. Who wouldn't love this life? And he started to be like, oh my God, I'm like sacrificing my life doing this thing that's hurting other people.
Right. And so like he doesn't help him. They go to lunch.
Yeah.
But that guy stands up and he's like missing a tooth. His face is mangled. His nose is broken. He's like,
he's so fucking proud.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so proud. And listen, people do like who are not like drafted or whatever, get invited to training camps to like work with the pros
all the time.
And honestly, I was looking up stats on it. Like I think recently teams signed up to like 10 or 15 people from training camps. So like that is a way to get into the pros, you know? So people are there to try and achieve their dream and they are sacrificing their body, you know?
Right.
And I think this movie is just acknowledging that.
Yeah. But they go to lunchtime, they come back and they've got a new drill where they've got helmets on that obscure your view a little bit.
Yeah, it's a linebacker helmet. So there's more like protection, but you can't see as much because there's more bars in front of the face, you know?
Right. But Cam's not doing well. And then Isaiah kind of comes up to his helmet and is like, look, man, one time I had a skull fracture. I guess Marco tells him he had a skull fracture so hard he cried blood.
Yeah.
And we see him do that later. He still cries blood.
Out his eyes. Like, it's like bad.
It's bad. But he's basically like human skulls shouldn't crash into each other. And then we see the x-ray of them running the drill again. And it looks like Cam's skull has been crushed. But then when we get out of the x-ray, we realize it was Cam that headbutted somebody else.
Yeah.
Again, knowing that he fucking shouldn't. His head is, damaged, but like...
You're also not supposed to do helmet to helmet in in NFL.
Yeah.
Like there are rules against it because it will kill you.
Yeah.
Like it's bad.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this, and you sort of mentioned it, but like Isaiah, when he gets in front of his face before the play, he's like, you gotta want this. And he's like, I want this. And like then what are you willing to sacrifice for it? He just yells back everything. And then he goes and kind of kills somebody. I mean, maybe not kills them, but like injures them to the point where they're kind of having a seizure on the ground as everyone else gets and sings amen and claps around them.
Yes.
It is such a clear metaphor for them like worshiping the guy who did the damage while showing the damage done.
Glorifying violence, rewarding violence. Yes.
So these are the moments where I'm like, yeah, that is kind of a heightened version of what we as a fandom are doing in that moment.
Right.
And so like, if you like football, I get why you don't like this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's very poking at you and holding up a mirror and it's hard to watch that kind of stuff. But again, if this is about Broadway and it was about cocaine and Ozempic, you could do it with any fandom. You know what I'm saying?
Coke-Zempic, the ultimate mixture.
Yeah.
Snort one, shoot one. I'm sure people are doing that, by the way. I could guarantee. Anyway, so after that day, he does make a phone call from Marco's office to his mom for her birthday. But then Marco restaples his head.
Yes. He needs to restaple his head because his head staples got messed up in that hit.
Yep.
Like, even though he walked away from that, it still messed him up too.
Yeah. And then put him in a pressurized chamber.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure didn't feel great.
No, it is positioned like, because he's talking to Isaiah as he's going in there. It's also like his mom's birthday. So we get like a little bit of a phone call where she's like, I'm so proud of you. And like reinforcing that parental kind of pressure, even though I do think his mom would be very fine if he was just like, I don't think this is for me anymore. I'm worried about dying because of my head injury. Like,
Right.
I'll go sell used cars and live a happy life doing whatever job I get. You know, like, I think his mom would be like, great. You know,
Yes.
I don't think she's pressuring him so much as it is just her being proud of him, which I would be too if that was my kid. So,
Sure.
but we get that scene too, but there's not much to it.
I think in certain instances, and this is one of them, sometimes we manufacture our parents' disappointment before it happens.
Yeah. I think they are the default voice in our head for the beginning of our lives. And this guy is 22 or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I think you're right. I don't think she would be disappointed, but in his mind,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to disappoint her.
Yeah.
It's the push and pull.
It's all the parental pressure that comes from the way you perceive your parents,
Right.
not what your parents are actually showing.
Right.
Because
right.
I do think it's clear she just loves her kid, you know, and would be
Yeah.
fine if he wasn't doing this forever.
Yep.
It was the dad that was like pushing for that really hard.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I'm reading this, and it looks like day 3 is actually the day where we do the X-rays and the headbutting.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
Okay.
we did the staples beforehand, but then he's like spitting blood. It's like a whole thing. But we've kind of, talked through all of this, and then afterwards,
Yeah, all of this happens in like the training camp part of it.
montages. Yeah.
Like that when they're running drills.
Yeah, this is day 3. And as he's walking down the hallway, he listens at one of the doors, and then there's a football in the hallway. There's like a dark, shadowy figure. And then he turns around and there's cameras and someone's suffocating him, but it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And that's when he calls his mom. And Marco basically gives him this talk of like, I know you've got headaches because staples, but like, you kill yourself for a job. These are gladiators that they send to the pit.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the scene where I was like, oh, damn, I guess Jim Jeffries can act. And I had no idea because he is not being like, kind of like the way you would think Jim Jeffries would be off stage, having seen his stand-up.
Right.
Because that's kind of how Marco seems up until this point, really.
Right.
And then in this scene, he's like acting. And it's very much that lane of like, I've kind of dedicated my life towards what I thought was going to be helping people, but it's actually kind of been the opposite.
Right.
And he does equate it to like he is the guy who's keeping gladiators alive so they can continue to hurt themselves week after week.
Right.
And is that a good profession to be in? Like it's kind of an existential crisis for him as a character.
Well, and he says, it's a shame you're so talented and how well I've prepared you.
Yeah.
Basically, this idea of like, you are so good at this, you are so talented, and I have facilitated you doing that to your death, essentially.
Yeah.
To your ruin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, 2 men enter the Colosseum, only one leaves, which basically means either you or Zay is dead at the end of this week.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. I mean, that's what it sets up for the movie.
Yeah.
I think if you were living this out like it was actually happening in reality, which I don't think is, it like very much is not in my mind. I really do kind of think it's a Jacob's Ladder situation. And that kind of explains the dream logic of it all.
Right.
But
right.
I think Jim Jeffries, the character, is actually saying in this scene, like at some point, you're going to have to kill him and take his spot. Kill him by like make him retire by being better than him.
Or kill his legacy.
Yes, by being the new GOAT.
Yeah.
Because you know who isn't the greatest of all time? The person who currently isn't the greatest of all time.
Yes. Yeah. But we see Marjorie the fan watching outside, and we cut to them in a sauna. Now, it is a 200-degree sauna. Have you ever been in a 200-degree sauna?
No, but it would be hot, I'm sure.
I have, and it's fucking unbearable.
I don't know how they're like talking in a 200-degree sauna. It would be so hard for me to breathe that hot of air.
I have only done it once, and only for a few minutes, and then I was fucking out of it. And I'm a sauna person and a cold plunge person. I love me some temperature therapies. Love it.
I like saunas, don't like cold plunges. And I don't think I'd like a 200-degree sauna. That seems like too much.
It is too much. It was punishingly hot.
I have a fun fact. Do you know why 200-degree saunas were created?
No.
So it was an experiment.
Okay.
And it's essentially what turned the California grapes into the California raisins.
Such a tragedy. We never forget. But then that's how they got their music skills. So like
100%.
100%.
Yeah. That concentrated grape genius that's been saunaed down into a raisin.
When I did it, it was one of those things where it's like your skin feels like it's on fire. And like the one I was in had benches, but I was standing because I literally couldn't imagine sitting down.
Yeah, I would be standing too because I would walk in and walk out in one fluid motion. Like there would be no option to sit down.
It was brutal. And there was a dude sitting cross-legged in the middle of the room and he was like, come on in, it's great. And we were like, man, no.
Come on in. The air's terrible.
The air is terrible.
The air is trying to kill you. But I honestly didn't even realize they were in a 200-degree sauna, even though I do remember seeing that, because they're just like having a regular conversation and they're barely sweating. Like, I don't believe that sauna is actually anything above 101 degrees at most when they're shooting this.
For sure. I'm sure when they're shooting. And it's also got the like salt lamp walls and stuff.
Yeah. It looks like a nice sauna though. I did like it was a vibe and I liked it.
Regardless, they're in the sauna. They're having a conversation. This is the conversation where Zay is like, I have a recurring nightmare that I'm home alone on a dirty couch watching someone else do what I'm good at.
Yep.
And that's what the rest of my life is going to have to be, is that I will miss the game I used to play, the camaraderie, all the things I actually enjoy about this, to watch someone else have my dream.
Paige, I kind of loved this because it's really just him talking about how he loves the game and knows he's going to miss it when he retires. And that is, I think, an internal pressure on a lot of players that probably should retire, but they just know they're going to miss it so much.
Yeah.
Like, candidly, I don't really go to see a lot of bands live because I miss playing live so much.
Sure.
I was never a headlining level, but I opened up for people who were headlining. So like I miss that energy and I miss being on stage doing that. So like it's hard for me to go and do that and go and watch that because I do get just straight up jealous. Like it's not a good thing. It's just like that's the way at least I have responded to no longer being able to do a thing I thought was my dream, you know? And so like I got it. I was like, damn, that's how I feel about it.
This is why people don't quit stand-up when they should.
Or retire from the NFL or anything at that big, that high of a level, you know?
Yep. Anyway, Zay leaves, and Cam is still in there. And who should crawl out from under the bench but Marjorie?
Yeah. She crawls out from under the bench like security's taking the week off, too.
Yeah. She also picks up one of the bricks. Impossible.
No, her hand would have melted.
That would burn your hands immediately. Yes.
She must have brought that brick with her from the cold room that she came through this bench, I guess. I don't know.
I love a cold room.
Me too.
Cold rooms are my favorite. I think I have just learned that my body likes being cold.
Well, I'm glad you learned it. Sorry it took so long.
That's all right.
Maybe it's because you live in a desert.
That could be. But she tries to cave his skull in with this hot brick. And they end up fighting and he chokes her and it seems like he strangles her.
She does pass out.
Yes.
Like it seems like she dies, but I mean, she doesn't. She just passes out. But yeah, and then he gets up and is like talking to Zay.
Zay watched the whole fucking thing happen.
Yeah, it was just like watching.
Yeah. And then she gets up because she's alive, runs at Zay, and Zay chokes her for a minute and then throws her back against the sauna. One would assume at this point she dies.
Yes, I thought she died too. But this is where I want to talk about like what I think they're trying to say with Zay and his relationship to the fans.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't just like grab her and then throw her against the wall.
Yeah.
Or the back of the sauna. She like says I love you and like goes to like full ass tongue kiss him and he full ass tongue kisses her
while he's choking her.
Yeah. And then he throws her against the wall, killing her, because I think what they're trying to say is that he loves and hates the fans.
Oh yeah.
And when she was attacking Cam, he was letting it happen because that's like fans attack players all the time and players don't stand up for their even fellow teammates when they're being attacked by fans for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So like that felt very true to me. But I do think that like Isaiah is just in a very love-hate relationship with those fans. And I understand that 100%.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And her acolytes are there. And then we cut to, because Isaiah's like, I'll clean up this mess. I owe it to the fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. What a dark acknowledgement of that relationship.
It is. But I do think like he wouldn't exist if not for the fans. Like at this level, he would be just a regular, middle-class person probably.
Yes. I feel like there needs to be a balance in that though of like, yes, he would not get to do what he does at his level if not for the fans, but that does not give fans ownership over his person.
No, yeah. I don't think it is saying that.
Yeah.
But it definitely is him like acknowledging that is part of the thing. That's
Right.
part of the cycle here that is at play.
Yep.
It also shows that it's one of his motivators.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think it is for Cam. But like when he's always like, no, I'm going to stay back and watch some film, we see what he's actually doing. And I think that was his motivating driver to be in the NFL, I think, was that validation he gets from the fans.
Yes. We'll get to that in just a second because there is a conversation to be had about it in a couple scenes.
You're right.
But we then cut to, they're having like, they say it's like a pool drink with the girls, but it's right in front of the sauna. And you watch Marco like gleefully mopping up the sauna in the background as just girls everywhere. And then he wakes up the next morning and Zay's got a gun in his face.
Yeah. Like finger on the trigger. Like he has the trigger discipline of someone who only got a $50,000 sign-on bonus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Uh-huh. But this is where he's like, if you're afraid to hurt your girlfriend's feelings or my feelings and not bang someone because of that, you can't do this job because real killers don't give a fuck. And this is where he starts to kind of get into like, I guess they like go and bro out for the day and go hunt because this is day 4, which is resilience. But this is where he starts the question of, you can't do this for your family because the job will make you lose them, essentially. So you will need to have some internal motivator for why you do this. And for Zay, we will find out it is the fans, which, by the way, worst internal motivator. Don't do it. Don't do things for that reason. It's real bad.
Yeah.
It fucks with your head in ways that are really awful.
Honestly, don't do anything for any other reason than an internal one that is like you self-driving it. Although I have done many things in my life for other reasons. And so know that I have done the opposite of that advice. But
I feel like for anything like this, he thinks fans are his internal motivator. That's actually a very external motivator, but like, his advice of you have to have a reason to do this if everything else fails or else you will not make it is actually real dark but accurate advice because that applies to anything that touches fame
100%
at all in any version. Fame will alter your life to the point that you will not have the same relationship with your family. You won't have all of these things that you have grown used to. And at the end of the day, many days, you'll be like, why the fuck am I doing this? It ruins everything else. And it has to be either I love making my art and that's what this is, and I need to do that to survive, almost like a sickness, or it has to be you have to have some internal reason for loving it to the detriment of everything else. That is dark and awful, and it's probably not good. Fame, questionable thing in our society. Like, you know, but like that is so true of like, if you want to do this, it is everything. It costs you everything, which we will get to at the end of the movie, essentially.
Yep.
Even though they're offering him it in a version that is, I mean, over time, it will cost him everything, but that's not explicitly laid out in their offer.
I mean, if you watch the arc that Isaiah is on, and Cam is very much just beginning the arc that Isaiah has just gone on, it's going to kill him too.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what the story is telling us.
Yeah. We cut to day 5, which is Vision.
Yeah.
And this is where he goes to.
It's media training day, Paige.
Media training day.
Yeah. And it's like they literally, like, they've got like paparazzi kind of set up. They're doing like the, you know, how to do interviews. And
Talk
this is where we get
shows.
more of Isaiah's wife, and she's like doing the side-by-side interview things. And I'm saying it like that because there's no real dialogue. They're just like shots of them doing this throughout like the day, like the training camp part of the day.
It's overlaid with Cam telling the story of his father's death.
Right.
Because that's the story they will then publicize and will become your media narrative.
Yes, that it's him giving that story. Yeah.
Yes. But then this is also, we get a shot, just a very brief shot of like stage like The Last Supper with Cam and reporters.
I wrote that down too, man. It's such a cool wide shot.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, damn. They are like, this is the apotheosis of Cam.
Yes.
Is what that is saying. And it's perfect for the metaphor of the movie.
Yes, yes.
Which is why I think this is all a Jacob's Ladder situation, and that man is dying, bleeding out on his high school football field.
And the fact that that is unclear is why a lot of people didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
But at this point, this is where Isaiah really confronts him and is like, your dad is dead. You cannot kill yourself for him.
Yeah.
You don't even seem to like football. You did it for him. But at a certain point, he is gone. Everything else is gone. And you're still going to have to play fucking football because of bills.
Yeah.
Like, so what is your reason for doing this? So you don't go insane, but also you're definitely going to go insane.
Paige, 100% you're going to go insane. This is what I tell people whenever they're like, hey, you became a partner Twitch streamer. What was that like? It wasn't that amazing? Why did you ever stop doing that? And I always tell them, like, be careful which of your hobbies you make your job.
Oh,
because
yes.
it's going to make that thing you love feel like a job, you know?
Yep.
And so I used to play video games so much, and I turned that into my job. I didn't play video games for probably a year and a half, 2 years after I stopped doing Twitch full time because it just felt like work, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what they're talking about here, although it's a very nerdy difference. But like, that's kind of what he's talking about. Like, if you are doing this because you don't just like have to do this, don't do this.
Right, right. This is why I won't post recipes of things I bake online, and I'm not going to make you crochet patterns or crochet anything for you. Those are my non-commodified hobbies that I do for me, for my brain to be okay. And sewing and all kinds of stuff. Like, I have to have things that are not commodified.
The way I like to think about it is, which of these hobbies would I be okay with having deadlines for?
Yep.
And if I don't have any that are none, don't commodify that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You just don't commodify ones you don't want to have deadlines for.
Right. The reason I commodify screenwriting is because the stories haunt me and keep me awake at night. And if you don't get them out, there's nothing you can do about it.
Paige, 100%. I'm literally writing something I'm never going to let anybody read.
Sure.
Because it's terrible. But you
got to get it out.
I got to get it out. It's like driving me crazy. Like, I hate it. I have to write it down so it's no longer spinning in my brain. You know what I'm saying? I hate it.
Right.
I understand completely.
Right.
We have to move on.
Anyway, but we are actually very close to the end.
I know.
Anyway, but this is where he's working out in a tuxedo.
Well, because he's like, I'm just going to hang out after the media training day or whatever. Yeah. And like, I'm not going to go to the party that they were all going to go to, honestly. And Isaiah's just said like, hey, I'm just going to watch film. So you guys go ahead and go. But he was like thinking about staying, Cam was, and just doing workouts. So that's why he's wearing a tux. Like, he, I think, was dressed in it and then was like, I ain't going to go. I'll just do more reps.
I feel like, and the movie doesn't touch on this a ton, but this is one of those things that people don't understand about being in the spotlight is that you will have exhausting days and then still have to go to the party.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't want to go to the party.
And the party is often work.
Yes.
It's like networking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's giving him the rundown of like, okay, here's the owner, here's the whatever. They do weird rituals. That's why it's in this weird place. And it's just in like an old rec center, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I was like, that would be kind of the perfect place to do this. I mean, I bet there's security and stuff.
Yeah.
But like on its face value, it looks like a beat up rec center that like is almost closed. Like the lights are on, but that's pretty much it. And there are no cars outside.
Right.
And they just like pull up and walk in. And then their car, I think, drives away because they were dropped off.
Yeah.
You know, and they walk in and there's just like one lady at a window they say hi to. It's clear that Isaiah's wife knows her.
Right.
Because she's like, oh, I love your new hair or whatever. But like, if you walked in and that person was like, excuse me, you would just leave this place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Oh, the amount of famous person parties I have been to that are just in an apartment.
Oh, yeah. Like, I bet.
Yeah. I bet you didn't think that you could get a llama into a very small 4 apartment complex. But Eric Andre's birthday proved that wrong. So like, yeah.
They were like, what? What's here? Someone sound the llama.
Yeah. Anyway, he walks past Marco and Marco just says, it is finished. Run.
Yeah.
Run.
He like whispers the run part in his ear.
Yeah. But he meets all of the other owners. And again, everybody here, white. The owning class of the NFL.
Yeah. Of which one is his agent.
Yep. And they drug him clearly with whatever he's drinking. And then they just put chains on him because that's what they perceive someone like him would want, and strippers. It is very stereotyped when, like, we know from, like, the rest of the movie, he's not really interested in those things, but they're like, of course you are. You're in the NFL now.
Right. And I do kind of love that, like, when he wakes up after that night with the ladies where he's drinking and kind of dancing with them,
Yeah.
there's no girl in his bed.
No.
He does, like, go dancing with them and stuff, but I don't think that's necessarily bad. You know, he stays pretty faithful to his girlfriend this whole time.
Yeah. But in this one where he's drugged, he ends up barfing up diamonds and chains, which, again, Jacob's Ladder scenario, probably metaphor.
Yeah, dream reality. Right.
Yep. But then day 6 is sacrifice. He wakes up in like a hangover treatment and is getting what he thinks is Zay's blood.
Yeah.
While he's being scanned on the ice bed.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of pills and stuff on the table. He tries to get up. He can't really walk or run, but he grabs a syringe on the table, which seems to be one of the things that Marco was injecting him with. Marco, by the way, murdered, head on a plate.
Yeah, he was murdered during the party, which I think was part of the ritual that Isaiah's wife was talking about as she was walking in that party, right?
Right, because it's not going to be Isaiah anymore, so you don't need his doctor anymore.
Exactly.
But so he injects himself in the heart, Pulp Fiction style.
I do want to say that the syringe says run on it.
Yeah.
And it has like the IDK emoji kind of thing, which I thought was very Jim Jeffries.
Every syringe has the IDK emoji on it because it's like, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And he never tells you what it is.
Never tells you. But Cam then, high on whatever, grabs the trophy from the trophy case that has all the rings and finds Isaiah, who's now watching crowds basically applaud for him on the ceiling screen.
Yeah, he goes into the room where Isaiah goes to, quote, watch film. And then it's revealed that what he's actually watching is like, it is kind of like an eyeball's view of just fans.
Yes.
Like clapping and cheering for him and, you know, giving him the validation that I think is his internal motivator for wanting to play.
Right. But he goes to attack him with the trophy, and he's like, why were they giving me your blood on some weird white people shit? Obviously a reference to, what's that guy's name who's stealing his son's blood?
Oh, I don't know, but the billionaire guy?
Yeah, that guy. Anyway, at this point, Isaiah's like, no, it's the one before me and the one before him and the one before him. Most people would consider this blood a gift from the gods.
Yep.
But it's basically the like OG quarterback's blood from the beginning of the league, and we pass it along to every goat, and you're the new goat.
It's like Jim Thorpe's blood passed down through football.
Right. And I do think that it is not necessarily team specific. Like once we get to the league, it's definitely the saviors are who's trying to draft him and that kind of stuff. But it seems like all the jerseys are kind of different, where it's just like goat to goat to goat, and here's where the goats are. And like,
yeah,
you know, but he basically said, he's like, look, my contract is up and there can only be one like starting QB, and it's either you or me. And now we share his blood, so it's a fair contest. So your job is to make sure I don't make it out of the tunnel.
Yes, because that means you're QB1, right? That means you're the starting QB.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Cam does say, you didn't make it on your own, you cheated. And I'm like, there's no making it on your own at this level for anyone.
Which we know, we've seen on the screen because they have shown us many times.
Right.
But I think Cam still thinks, I don't think he realizes that he's been groomed to do this until he sees the photo of the coach.
Yes. I also think that like, this is a tough reality nobody wants to talk about. Nobody gets to do anything at that high of a level without someone in charge making a choice.
Right.
Which means that like, just because you got to do it does not mean that you are the most talented or that you were the best. It's just that you were the choice they made for any number of reasons. And the sooner you start understanding that, you can cater to those choices, and that's how people get famous. But that's an uncomfortable truth for a lot of people, to understand that this is not a meritocracy truly. This is about people in charge choosing, but they have chosen and now they have to fight. And so they fight. And it is a really distractingly filmed fight.
Yeah.
The lighting is all over the place. It's hard to, there's a lot of blood.
We're also getting the X-ray vision, and but with the blood overlaying on that as like a photo negative that like whites, like it kind of blacks out all of the skeleton that we saw. It is kind of confusing as to like who is who and whatnot. But I think that's part of it.
And the room is red. So even with all the blood, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he breaks Cam's arm, like brutally.
Yes. Yeah, not his throwing arm, which I thought was
Yeah.
very interesting that he chose his non-throwing arm. I kind of was like, oh, that's kind of a professional kindness in a way,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. But he essentially beats Zay to death. Cam does. And then comes out of the tunnel onto like a field where initially I was like, is this a giant inflatable uterus? But no, it's a goat.
Yeah, no, it's a goat.
It just, you only see part of it and you're whatever.
Yeah.
But this is where they have the helmet of the mascot down on the floor, and it is a conquistador, and you're like, oh, dark.
Yeah. It's also the one that Cam shot in the rifle shooting scene.
Right. But this is where they're like, hey, just sign here to receive the gifts. That's all you got to do. Just sign here. You'll get everything.
Literally, hey, congrats. You've won this thing.
You won.
You've been working hard for your entire life.
Yes.
All you have to do is sign here, and everything you've ever dreamed could happen will happen.
Right. Your dad sacrificed everything for you. You beat the goat. And then there's like photos of his dad with the coach as a kid. And this is very much one of those like, we chose you, we groomed you.
Yes.
And if you don't sign it, we'll kill your family.
Yeah, I think this is the the King George like song from Hamilton, right? Because it's like, yeah, we'll kill you to remind you of our love for you. You know, we created you, and so we get to do whatever we want with you, even though you are an individual with like your own personhood.
Right.
We own that already. And I also think the metaphor of him signing the way they're doing it in like this very showy way is also that we own you now. And he is very much rejecting that.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that he rejects it and kills everybody. But I would have understood if he had been like, yeah, this is what I've been working on my whole life.
It's also basically the devil's book.
Yeah.
Like the way they present it.
Yes, it is.
And with there's a ton of Baphomet in imagery because of the goats and whatever.
Yeah.
I would have also accepted an ending where he goes to sign and we don't find out what he does.
Oh.
I would have accepted all of those, right?
Yeah, fair.
And I also love that they're wearing pig faces because it's pigskin because it's NFL.
Yeah. Oh, there are also like rituals where like pigs and pig carcasses are involved.
100%.
Just like research some skull and crossbones or skull and what is it?
Skull and Bone Society. Yeah.
Yeah, Skull and Bone Society. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely there too. And he like grabs a sword and Elsie is like, fine, I'll fucking do it. I'll kill him. And then gets up and trips on her long evening gown and accidentally stabs herself in the neck.
Yeah, it's not a banana peel, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
Like if you dropped in the Foley of whoop, like it makes as much sense because she just like slips it onto her blade.
What you need is the Scooby-Doo foot scrambled.
Yes, 100%. This is why you don't run with the scissors pointing forward, right?
Right.
Not like that Weird Al album.
Right. Oh, Running with Scissors is a great album. But this is also, so he kills everybody except Tim Heidecker, who does land on the pentacle and then explode into a blood mist.
He gets pulled into the pentacle. I think Cam pulls him, right? Like he pulls him there and then walks away?
No, he gets pulled by an unseen force.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was writing a note when that was going on and I looked up and he was getting pulled. Okay. That's even cooler to me.
And I was like, what?
Well, I mean, there's got to be a scapegoat.
Of course. Well, and it's no guts, no glory or whatever. And I love that, like, the cheerleaders are there. He's covered in blood. He's murdered everybody.
I mean, he's literally cut the head off the coach.
Right.
Like, with a saber. Like, he goes Ghost of Tsushima all over these people. It's amazing.
Yes. And then as that's happening, as it's like, no guts, no glory, there's a flyover of, like, the Blue Angels or whatever. And I lost my mind.
And that's the movie. So, Paige, having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think about him?
It has its problems. I'm not going to stand here and say this is anyone's best, although I think there's a lot of great performances in it. I love the visuals. I think it's shot well. I think it needed maybe a little extra pass on story tightening to make it really shine. But for the first 40 minutes in particular, fucking incredible. Then it kind of falls apart after that. It's still an interesting watch. I enjoyed watching it the whole time. And then afterwards was like, there were some problems.
Yeah.
But if you are super into the CTE lore of the NFL, definitely watch it. It's not perfect, but you know.
So for me, I dug it. I think it's a pretty great movie. But also, if I had been like, if it was my job to evaluate scripts for a studio and I got this script, my note would be, no one will like this except for me. I enjoyed this a lot, but of commercial value, it's low.
I've given that note in coverage before.
It's pretty low commercial value.
Right.
So like, again, I think it's largely just because I'm kind of meh on football and most competitive sports.
Sure.
So like, I don't really mind having the mirror held up to that fandom. But if it was a fandom that I was in, it would be a harder watch for me and I probably wouldn't like it near as much. So if like you love football and hate this movie, I think you're right, I guess is my point. But I kind of dug it. I'm surprised it got made, because it feels like a movie for people who don't really care about football, but it's so hardcore football. Like I don't know. It's surprising to me that it got made, but I kind of dug it. Anyway, Paige, do you have some fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with some fun facts. Pigskin. Fun facts.
Marlon Wayans took to Instagram after this movie came out. It did not get good reviews. And he basically said, quote, just to be clear, I respect critics. Their job is to critique. I respect their work. It shapes our industry. But an opinion does not always mean it's everyone's opinion. Some movies are ahead of the curve. Innovation is not always embraced, and art is to be interpreted, and it's subjective. I've had a career of making classic movies that weren't critically received, and those movies went on to be classics, which is true.
Damn, I know. Honestly, a lot of the Wayans can say that,
Accurate.
Yeah.
So don't take anyone's opinion. Just go see for yourself. Love to all. Him in theaters now. I will tell you, I saw a lot of negative reviews of this movie. I was not necessarily optimistic going into this. I enjoyed this way more than the critics would have led me to believe I would have. But again, I think you and I are the perfect people for this movie.
Yeah.
That we know just enough about football to understand it, but then also to be like, oh yeah, the CTE, that's we're the two, us and Armando probably. I'm going to make Armando watch this.
Yeah.
I'll probably make my dad watch this. Who knows? Anyway.
I would be interested to know your dad's take on it just because he is such a football fan, and I said this a few times already, but if this is about a fandom that I was a part of, I would have probably been like, no, it's not I would have defended it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's our natural inclination as people, but I don't have that with this. So I didn't feel the need to do that. And I just sunk into it.
To be honest, that is one of my favorite parts of Last Podcast on the Left's Aaron Hernandez coverage.
Yes, he's such
Ed,
a fan.
Who was a huge football fan, basically being like, I struggle to engage with this fandom knowing now what I know.
Yeah.
And I think that is valid. That is a valid emotion to be like, now that I know it is changing the way I feel about this, and these are the reasons I'm upset. And everyone kind of has to decide for themselves what their ethics are in this situation. And I respect people learning new information and then changing. And I'm curious for how many people could watch this movie and feel that way. But anyway, back to fun facts.
Yes.
Tyreek Withers, who plays Cam, watched movies with similar themes of perfectionism, specifically Black Swan and Whiplash. I feel like those are two great analogs for that obsessive compulsion for greatness, if that makes sense.
At that elite level, yeah.
Yes.
I feel like Whiplash does it better though, because I am a drummer, and that movie I thought was excellent.
My parents are watching that in film class this quarter, and I was like, "Ooh, Whiplash, nice."
Yeah, Whiplash is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that was an interesting analog for this. He also trained with quarterbacks and other professional coaches. But I think for things to inform your acting in that scenario, Black Swan and Whiplash are great analogs. And he said it allowed him to kind of go to a darker place and to seep into that jealousy around that greatness, because it's this idea of well, I have worked so hard and given up for so much, I can't let you stand in my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yep. So for this movie, the filmmakers did research a lot of the training elements football players use during practice, and they learned about the jugs machine, which has 2 motorized tires mounted atop a 3-legged stand that rapidly shoots footballs at players to catch.
Yeah.
For us, it was like, wow, that looks like a medieval torture device. And when they saw how high the speed could go, they were like, oh yeah, we got to break somebody's face with this. So they were doing research, and that wasn't originally in the movie, and they wrote it into the movie after seeing it, essentially.
That's cool, man. I mean, because they use it really well. The metaphor they're driving home, that's where the point of it is made.
Well, and also the tires are set at angles, so it spirals the ball.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting too, that who thought that up? But anyway. Tyreek Withers reported feeling, quote, eerie Baphomet vibes from certain scenes filmed in the house in the isolated New Mexico desert. Understandable. I think those were intentional in the film.
I think so too, yeah.
Justin Tipping, who was the director of this film, said he focused his research on better understanding the societal critiques levied against football by academics, media types, and former players. He watched multiple documentaries. I assume the Aaron Hernandez one, but also ESPN's 30 for 30 series. Fascinating series. I watched the one on O.J. Simpson. Wild. Examines issues in sports beyond the playing field. So he also read Rise of the Black Quarterback and what it means for America, because there are a shocking low amount of black quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And he even, in the movie, Zay references it and he's like, look, in order to be a black quarterback, I had to be great just to be good.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely like a real thing in the industry. So if you're curious about that, Rise of the Black Quarterback, What It Means for America is the book to read.
I grew up with one of the first, at least that I remember, and that was Steve McNair. He was our quarterback when Tennessee Titans were the best they ever were, man.
Yeah.
So like I grew up in an era that was very much like leaning into that.
Yep. He also spent a lot of time talking to Ricky Williams, who essentially is a former NFL player and has admitted to using marijuana for pain tolerance and was suspended multiple times for violating its drug policy just to manage his pain. However, has also talked about how prescribed painkillers don't violate the drug policy.
Yeah, which may be more addictive than what he was doing to mitigate them. Yeah.
100%. Justin Tipping has said that his conversation with Ricky Williams enlightened him about the corporate aspect of sports, basically, which is bleeding into college realms as well, and the NFL's embracing of gambling, which can correlate to heightened harassment of athletes on social media, etc.
Oh, of course.
Yes. And also basically the intersection of elite and extensive training and its impact on mental health. He talked to Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, who have also both been very vocal about their straining mental health for training.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he also in interviews has described him more like a Nosferatu or Ex Machina, but with two quarterbacks. Ex Machina is a very interesting comparison. I don't disagree.
I like it way more than I liked this, though. But yeah, I don't disagree with if you're talking about themes. Yeah.
Yes. I love Ex Machina. But yes, to think about two men trapped in a house with competing ideologies and how that plays out, absolutely, that's a comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some early promo behind the scenes showed isolated compounds, mascots with obscured faces, or backgrounds that distort familiar football paraphernalia. These were hints that the world might have mirror reflections, so public face versus private corruption and darkness. The image of cheerleaders and mascots in the periphery of frames being slightly odd or unsettling. Notice you never see a cheerleader's face.
Not up close, no. You only see them in like the wide shot or from behind.
Yeah, you mostly see either their hair obscuring their faces, like they have no faces, which you could also argue is a critique of how the NFL treats their cheerleaders. Yeah. There's a bunch of documentaries about that too.
100%.
Anyway, Marlon Wayans, who I do think did fantastic in this movie. He is often not in a dramatic role. I think he is scary in the movie and balances this, like his character causes a lot of dread and unsettles you. But by the end of it, you also feel for him so much, like so much compassion of someone who has given everything and is about to get nothing in return. It is the Faustian gambit.
Yeah.
But he essentially had a conversation at the film premiere and explained that his versatility as a performer is what made the role interesting for him, but also made him attractive to the team.
Yeah.
Where they said, you're one of the only people who's doing what you're doing at the level that you're doing it, but the world hasn't seen your everything, so let's go do it. And honestly, I would agree. I think that's a really interesting aspect of this movie of like, Marlon Wayans has been around forever and has been in a million different movies. He's great. He's hilarious. And this really did give him a chance to stretch his dramatic legs. And I think he does a great job in it. I kind of hope people continue to give him dramatic roles just to see how far you can kind of stretch that.
Me too,
but
man.
Clearly he is capable of doing it. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Tim Heidecker previously worked with Jordan Peele on Us. If you remember, he was one of the neighbors that their family with Elizabeth Moss with the twins. They all get super killed.
Yeah.
Great. I love seeing Tim Heidecker in roles like this. If you know anything about Tim Heidecker, he's a very compassionate person trying to do the most good in the world. But the way that he shows up to do that is by essentially parodying the opposite. So like he has a new special, and it's a couple years old at this point, where he's basically trying to be like an Austin comedian. And it's so good. It's one of my favorite things he's ever done. But he's essentially playing a bad comic for an entire special.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah.
Love it. So there was a review embargo for this movie, which is usually only used when a studio thinks a movie's going to do bad, or when it's like a big blockbuster and they want to try and keep things secret. So like Marvel almost always has review embargoes or whatever.
Yeah.
When the review embargo lifted for this movie, it had mostly negative reviews with a 28% Rotten Tomato score. It currently has, I think, 33 when I looked at it today. I feel like that's very low. There are way worse movies than this movie, I think.
I agree, but I also think there's no way it was going to be anything higher than that because of what it's about and the way they talk about it. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go on record as saying I feel like those are overly harsh for a movie that is clearly very thoughtful, filmed very well, includes very interesting performances from people who are normally comedic actors playing dramatic roles.
Yeah.
And the societal critique of it holds up. And like, is it completely effective? No. Is that, the last acts kind of fall apart a little bit? Yes, but like, there are so many worse things. Yeah. I feel like people were way overly harsh on this movie. But those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for him last year?
I think this was probably expensive, unfortunately. I think this was probably at least about $40 million.
Yeah, so it's a little bit cheaper than that, which
good.
It does look like a $40 million movie.
It looks $40 million.
I think the reason they saved some on that is because it's largely a one location movie for the bulk of it.
That house is like a real place too, by the way. They found like a house and filmed in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a one location movie once we get to the training camp of it all.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's where they saved money, but it was $27 million.
Oh, this looks great for $27 million, actually. This looks really good.
Very, very much agree. Now, this movie came out the weekend of September 19th of last year. It was number 2 the weekend it came out. It was beat by Demon Slayer, and then Him was number 2. Number 3 was The Conjuring Last Rites. Number 4 was Downton Abbey, The Grand Finale. I would assume that's pronounced.
Sure.
And then 5 is The Long Walk. This weekend specifically, we've done 3 of those movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what do you think Him brought in its opening weekend?
Let's see. It was second?
Yes.
I mean, it probably brought in about $20 million if it was second.
The top movie only brought in 17.3, and Him brought in 13.2.
That's not bad for a 27 budget. Yeah.
No, it's not bad. It was barely a mil more than Conjuring Last Rites made that same week, making it third and not second like Him was. Now, Him in its second week was 6th.
Yeah. Word spread, unfortunately.
It fell pretty quick. And so The Conjuring Last Rites, that was third the week Him came out, was 4th that next week, and Him, which was above it the week it came out, fell to 6th that week. Anyway, just kind of pointing out how that worked out. It was never again in the top 10 after that second week, and it was in theaters for 8 weeks total, and then it was out. So, Paige, what do you think it made domestically at the box office?
$36 million.
Less than that. It was $25 million. It did make 2.8 internationally, so it did make its budget back at $27.8 million.
Yeah, but not 2x.
It did not make the 2x that we sort of equate in for how much they probably spent to market the movie. And maybe this didn't get a full marketing push, but it still probably didn't, they spent more on marketing than what was that? $700 or $800,000 above the budget they brought in the box office. So yeah, this was not a commercial success, I'm sure. But again, if you make a football-centric movie for people who aren't a fan of football, it's not going to do well in theaters. I do think there's a chance that people catch it just as a stray streamer somewhere, and they're like, oh, damn, that was actually pretty good. I wish I had seen that in theaters, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is like a movie for an audience that is not what the like on-screen audience it should be. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I could definitely see like you and I missing this.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, all right, I'm in, because like, you know, football horror. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I watched some review because it got terrible reviews, and I was like, whoa, how did it miss the mark this bad? And I watched a couple different reviews of it, and a lot of it was like some of what we have said around the metaphors not necessarily being as streamlined or connected or fully formed as you would want.
Yeah.
But the thing that I noticed now that I have watched it is that I feel like a lot of people are missing some of the even deeper metaphors or choosing not to see them. But again, I feel like you and I are the perfect audience for this because we're like CTE nerds and like that, then that's who this is for.
Paige, allow me to exemplify what you just said in a Metacritic review I just read.
Perfect.
That review is, a horror film centered around American football is such a fascinating idea. It could have explored the corruption behind the sport, the lasting brain injuries, the fame, the sacrifices required to achieve greatness. There was so much potential. Unfortunately, this film doesn't tap into any of that.
What are you talking about? That's the whole movie. What?
That's a real review for this movie. So yeah, I do think that point is missed on people.
It addressed all of those things.
Yeah, I think that point is missed on some people.
Oh, if I was one of the people that made this movie and read that review, I'd be fucking infuriated.
Me too.
Like, I'd be like, how much more clearer could I have said it?
That was Movie Warfare's review of him.
Oh my God.
On Metacritic. You could look it up.
What do you mean didn't address any of those? That's literally... Oh my God.
They go on to explain that it was just like an overdone evil cult movie. Like they just, when the cult stuff happened at the end, I guess they were just like, oh, I guess it wasn't about the themes it was clearly about. But I don't want to break down their review. They're just wrong. It's fine. But I think it was like pointing out that what you were saying is true. Anyway, that's your box office.
Whew, I see this so much more as a societal commentary movie as opposed to a cult movie. And again, I'm a person who loves cult movies. Love them.
Same.
I don't even think it's a cult so much as it is a metaphor for the sacrifice and giving up for society. Oh God, there's so much. I can't.
We can't continue to talk. Yeah, we got to move on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's your box office. So Paige, you want to hit him with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of how scary we found the film when we watched it today, with 1 being Ghostbusters and 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I'm going to give it a 1. There wasn't really any scary moment in this movie.
Yeah. And I know people say we give 1s too often because we have desensitized you over time, but I'm going to give this a 1 as well.
I don't know that. I mean, watch the movie and tell me if you think it's scary. I think it's like pointing out things in society that are scary, but that's not on screen scary.
I think if body horror gets you, this might be a little tough, but yeah, 1 for me as well.
All right.
Hey, Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do. And this week, I kind of teased this at the beginning of the episode. I am so proud of you all for checking in with us and about your, I'll just say, number 2 bathroom usage. We got a lot of comments on our
is this from
the Long Walk episode.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was the most recent one. Yeah, that was our most recent one.
Of how many times you poop per day.
Yeah.
That's why we have a bunch of comments that are just numbers. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many comments are literally just like Zandra's who says 15. And honestly, 15 times a week seemed like a lot. They're not the only person who responded with that same just a number comment.
There have definitely been weeks when I have pooped 15 times.
Fair.
I was eating a lot.
Sure.
It's the holidays probably at that point, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, you eat too many chili cheese fries and stuff gets a hold of you. But yeah, I'd accept that as a number.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I'm not judging you. A lot of people's were either staggeringly high or staggeringly low, in my opinion, but...
Because if you pooped twice a day, that's 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people dropping 3 deuces a day. That seems like a lot to me.
Maybe on a Saturday.
Oof, you got more time. You just kick the feet up on the squatty potty and go to town.
You got more time. You've been eating nothing but dips.
I do want to read one person specifically because they just put our information on Main Street with this comment. And that is salamander, I believe is how they want it pronounced, but it's not spelled exactly like it.
All right.
And they just said, I'd say I shit between 7 and 14 times a week.
Yeah.
And they just like, I do love that they were just like, I don't mind people knowing what this is about. I'm just going to put it on Main Street. And I love the audacity of that. So Salamander, thank you.
I would say I also shit between 7 and 14 times a week.
Same, probably.
And if I'm not shitting 7 times a week, I'm in trouble.
At least 7 times a week, right? Once a day is like a min.
Did anyone say that they only shit once a week or twice a week?
No. Everyone had a number that was, I think the lowest was 4 or 5.
Sure. And that makes sense to me. I've had 4 or 5 weeks, especially if I'm like sick or something and not eating.
Sorry, as I'm scrolling through, I did see one person said 2 to 3 times, ellipses, if I'm lucky.
What?
Anyway, we got to stop reading Spotify comments.
Lucky implies that they want it to be closer to a 7 and they're working on it, maybe.
Oh, they're aspirational, literally.
Yes.
But Paige,
yes.
I didn't realize it was a pun until I was done with the word aspirational.
Well, that's like when I kept saying this movie tackles themes.
But Paige, we got to move on. So if you want to have me read your Spotify comment and or 5-star Apple review, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back. And I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah, have an amazing week, guys. 2 men enter, 1 man leave, nerds.
2 poop enter, 1 week leaves, nerds.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.